What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in tonight, tomorrow, whenever you're listening to this, to the Crypto Street Podcast. This is Dale, so to say. You can kind of remove the Crypto Dale out of my name since I've been thrown in jail by the Twitter police for the time being. But just Killer and I tonight. Prince is off doing some Canadian things. We don't really know what. Kind of convenient that marijuana was legalized today in Canada and Prince is not here, but it's out of our control, right?
We're not saying they're related, but they're probably directly related.
What's up, Killer? How's it going tonight?
Good, man. It's interesting being here, just the two of us. I don't think we've done an episode just us two before. But we're looking forward to yapping up a storm because you guys, if you don't like our ideas, you're gonna be super sick of them by the end of these or the end of this. So
Yeah, so just sit back, enjoy the ride, and like you said, Prince and I have done one together alone. I think we interviewed Godson. You and Prince have done several on your own without me. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. I think we'll be all right because people that don't really know us, when we talk in our chats or whatever on Telegram and text, and Killer and I usually seem to be about a thought, the same thoughts running through our mind every single time. So it's
yeah.
kind of funny and kind of scary. So let's just cut the shit, jump right in. Let's talk about this Binance chain analysis implementation. So what people might not know if you haven't read anything about this chain analysis, probably saying it wrong. But so what they do is they've got a KYC and a KYT software that Binance is really starting to roll out this year. What it does is it monitors each transaction in real time. It's really designed to help with the anti-money laundering regulations that really are, what the big thing I think that people are worried about. So, Killer, why don't you dive in and kind of say what you think on this?
Yeah, so we were talking about this in our chat. Binance was sort of the last bastion of KYC free exchanges that were open to US residents. And that stuff is a little bit too good to be true at this point. Crypto's too under the microscope, it's too in the public eye. And I mean, all these exchanges where you can sign up with an email and submit US dollars are probably going by the wayside. And Binance was one of the longest holdouts, but now they're coming home to pasture. The U.S. government's probably knocking on their door saying, "Hey, like, what are you guys doing to know the identities of the people trading these assets? Many of which are probably securities. What are you doing to track this money? What are you doing to make sure there's no anti-money laundering or there's no money laundering going on?" And these regulations, like anti-money laundering, are really commonplace in the finance world. Pretty much every bank, brokerage, investment firm, name the type of financial institution, they probably have to abide by these. So it's not a surprise that this is happening. It's definitely going to knock Binance's reputation a little bit among, I think, the people that we sort of hang out with, who are like crypto maximalists.
Right.
They're deep in the woods in crypto at this point. Because people value not having to submit an ID and for various reasons. I think many of which are illegal, but argue it's just for privacy. That's kind of the meme. But let's be honest, it's because a lot of people don't want to pay taxes. But um, so it's interesting to see. I mean, it's no surprise to me. Bit of a sad day among some, but
Yeah, and like we were kind of talking in the chat earlier, to me it kind of seems like this is everything against, it's a double-edged sword, really. This is everything that crypto's kind of against, and essentially, but I think the big topic at hand is, when is this gonna take that next step? The institution money going to flow. And I think this is part of, maybe that process where we can get to that next big step with this. The CFO of Binance was quoted, obviously he's got to be one to really pump this up and pimp it out. And he said the ultimate goal of our partnership with Chainalysis is to create an environment in everyone feels safe, which, I would definitely agree with that, because this Chainalysis does is it's got these algos and pattern recognition, and it'll trigger alerts, real-time alerts, and who it triggers it to. I'm uncertain, but it alerts someone so that if there is anything illegal going on, money laundering, because that's really, when you talk to people that aren't in crypto, when they hear of crypto, Bitcoin, that's the first thing that they think of is illegal acts and you know drug money and stuff like that. So this maybe soothes that a little bit. I don't know, but to me, yeah, it's needed, I think, but maybe seems like it is everything that crypto doesn't stand for. Would you kind of agree with that, Killer?
This is, yeah, I agree. It's definitely sort of against the ethos and the spirit of crypto and independence. But like you said, it's this weird dynamic between legitimacy and widespread exposure and autonomy. And I'm not sure you can really have a lot of legitimacy among governments, among various
Hmm.
financial institutions and regulations, and also have complete autonomy. It's not, you can't, because if you're anonymous and people don't know who you are, the government's going to be worried that you're taking tax money from them. That's the bottom line. And every government, because that's how they fund themselves, is tax money. They're going to be concerned about that.
Right.
And so I totally agree with that. One of the quotes from the article I was reading about the chain analysis thing is that kind of cracked me up was this is some Binance representative. I don't think it was CZ. Binance's chief financial officer, Wei Zhu. I'm probably butchering his name. Apologize about that. But the quote is: "The ultimate goal of our partnership with Chainalysis is to create an environment in blockchain where everyone feels safe. We believe the fight against money laundering to be collaborative and proactive," which really cracked me up because, like, who logs into an exchange and they're like, whoa, 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 no KYC? Like, how much money laundering is going on here? I don't know
Right.
if I can trade here. I don't feel safe. It's like, it's completely ridiculous, but it's completely corporate spin,
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, I don't think a single person has ever felt that their safety was in question because an exchange wasn't doing KYC, but um, it's it's hilarious how it's spun, as a good thing. It's like, oh, you're not complicit in money laundering. Like, well, if I'm not doing it, then I don't care. But okay.
Right. Yeah, and it's almost like they're trying to draw in the new investors and trying to make it seem like it is safe for everybody. Whether it is or not, I guess we'll see. So, you mentioned privacy a little bit ago. One of the biggest private privacy coins is Monero. They had some stuff in the news. Was it today? I think, Killer.
Yeah, just today.
Yeah, they're are they implementing the bulletproofs?
Bulletproofs, yeah. So bulletproofs are a technology. Bulletproofs themselves do not increase privacy, but they do make privacy coins more efficient. So one of the big problems with these sorts of coins, a lot of them, um, and I'll explain a little bit more about this later because some privacy aspects are actually more efficient for blockchains. But one of the big problems that coins like Monero that use ring signatures, ring CT, or ring confidential transactions is that they get very bloated very quickly because
Hmm.
it's computationally heavy to process these transactions while maintaining the privacy of addresses, of amounts of transactions. It's a very tough thing to do. So, bulletproofs increase the efficiency of that process by, I think they're talking around 80%,
Yep,
which
that's right.
is very significant. That's a lot more efficient. Um, and it's an exciting thing because I'm pretty sure Monero is the first $1 billion plus blockchain to implement this. They're actually going to be
Yep.
implementing it tomorrow, the 18th. So
Yep.
by the time most of you are listening to this, it'll be actually happening in real time. So
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal. First $1 billion coin token to implement this. Like you said, it does not contribute to the privacy. Decreases the weight of confidential transactions, so it's going to replace their current zero knowledge range proofs, which is a pretty big deal. And are they hard forking tomorrow, or is it just that they are just implementing the test process? Do you know for sure? I can't remember. I don't think
that's
they're
a
hard.
good question. I don't think the hard fork is tomorrow. That was somewhere in the article.
Yeah, I
I
thought I
like
remembered reading something about that, but
Yes, I don't think so. The upgrade will begin on October 18th, but will
Ah,
happen in two parts. On the 18th, bulletproofs will be enabled on Monero, and by
uh-huh.
Friday, the tech will be made compulsory.
Okay.
So, I guess at 18th is tomorrow, Thursday, the 18th is sort of like a an implement it but don't mandate it day, and then the next day, I assume is when they go through with the hard fork. Um, if we're wrong on this, for sure, check us in the comments or tell us. But that's what I'm gathering. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, Monero is one of those coins where I continue to be amazed at how undervalued it is, and I'm sure it's 99% a byproduct of just the market being complete shit. Um, but I mean,
Killer, in
it's
your opinion, if Monero say wasn't the number one privacy coin, which I think everybody listens to us regular knows that we're all pretty bullish on Monero, but if this wasn't the say the number one privacy coin, would in your opinion would this propel it to be that sought after privacy coin now because of bulletproofs?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I think 99% of people who are in crypto, you say bulletproofs to them and they're like, "What? Like that sounds cool, but I have
That's
no
a
idea what that
song
is."
by
So,
Jordan Sparks, right? That's what they're gonna say,
yeah,
probably.
yeah, something like that. Or LaRue too for
Yeah, yeah.
any electronic music fans a few years ago. Bulletproof, but anyway, yeah, I would think so. I mean, I think Zcash has done a good job of marketing, but people who are deep into crypto realize that the way Zcash was set up means it's slightly less private than Monero at this point.
Mhm.
I think that's pretty safe to say. I think Zcash's association with companies and large scale organizations is in and of itself a privacy threat. Monero is very much an underground coin. You know, the developers are pseudonymous, they don't release their names for the most part. And so it's very much under the radar, which is exactly what you want after if you're looking for a privacy coin, because you don't want anybody that any entity can go after to shut it down. Um,
Right.
and I mean, I think it's I think it's probably already in my mind it's number one. And market cap wise, I think it's near the top as well, if not the highest market cap coin, with privacy as the main feature. But I think this will further solidify it, and if it goes well, you're going to see other privacy coins adopt this technology. And kudos to the Monero team for having the balls and the smarts to implement this and get it out into the wild and kind of see how it performs.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Pretty bullish on Monero. Have been for a while. Stuff like this just continues to make me bullish on it. So, um, let's move on and talk about the 0x pumping what 12% before the Coinbase listing actually came out.
Oh, wait, real quick. One more thing about
Yeah.
bulletproofs I wanted to mention. Another aspect of it that's really flying under the radar is it contains a small kind of behind the scenes software tweak, which is intended to dissuade ASICs from mining Monero. So the Monero community has had sort of this mini war with ASICs going on. ASICs being the type of chips that are specifically meant to mine Bitcoin or some other function, and they're far more efficient at doing so because that's their sole function, right? So they've been engineered from the ground up to mine Bitcoin. Um, and so ASICs, what they've led to in Bitcoin is a lot of miner centralization, which increases the danger of the blockchain being subjected to a 51% attack. And so Monero, wanting to be decentralized and really, really hard to shut down, is aiming to stop this. And this is going to be a back and forth battle because the chip makers are going to see this fix. They're going to read it in the code and they're going to find something that probably works around it where their ASICs still work. And this will be a game of tennis, kind of back and forth, or a game of Pong, if you prefer, between the chip makers and the privacy coin developers. And it's going to be a battle. It's going to sort of be like the performance enhancing drug situation in sports, where it's between the scientists and the doctors who are working with the athletes and the guys who are doing the drug testing. Um, I think it's very much going to resemble that, where I believe the devs will be usually a step ahead, just because they're going to have a first mover advantage where they know what they're working on for their chain, but the chip makers don't
Mhm.
until after it's revealed. And they have a bit of head start to then work on something further than that that can respond to whatever the chip makers do. Um, And you look at like drugs in sports. I mean, usually the people who are cheating have a slight leg up because the people who are testing don't know what specifically what to test for until somebody pops for it or they catch wind of it. And so I think it's going to be very similar here. But that's an important development. I mean, if you look at Bitmain and
Totally.
Bitcoin and how much they dominate that space, it's concerning because decentralization is at the heart of everything they do here, or everything that crypto stands for. So it's gonna interesting how it plays out, but I think the coin developers are gonna have a leg up.
Totally. I think so too. Nice reference there with the cheaters in professional sports.
Yeah.
Okay, so those that don't know, or maybe you're not active on crypto Twitter, 0x, which is ZRX symbol, got listed on Coinbase. Was it this week or last week? I can't remember. And anyways, it all blends together. So really, the first ERC20 token that's on the Ethereum blockchain that got listed on Coinbase. Before it got listed, there was obviously rumors. Coinbase put it out there that they were one that could or could not get listed. So mini pump with that. But the thing that's really sketchy, so to say, I guess you could say, is that it was up 12% roughly before any news broke out that it was going to be listed. And it's just kind of strange to me because Coinbase, when they listed Bitcoin Cash was the big thing about the insider trading or whatnot, and then they come out and are listing 0x and pretty much essentially appears to be the exact same thing. So pretty shady. I don't know. I guess it almost makes me want to go out and buy BAT basic action token because it's one of
I
them
think
that
it's
a lot of
basic attention. But
yeah, whatever it is.
the it's
So
yeah, they've I there's some speculation that it was sort of like an insider leak and people were buying it. But I think like perhaps a more likely explanation that I was reading about was just that there are bots and software programs that basically constantly check the Coinbase API to see when they actually enable trading of a new coin before they actually announce it, because they're making the change behind the scenes in their software before they're announcing it publicly, of course, because they want it to be
naturally,
fully operational by the time people go, oh God, 0x, I got to buy that. And I think the theory was that one of these bots, which I believe is called Lightning Signal, which you can locate on Twitter, is a free bot where it kind of scrolls through different exchanges APIs to identify new listings before they're announced. The theory is that, or not even a theory, I think this Lightning Signal bot put out a signal 4 minutes before Coinbase announced it officially. And the price went up like 20% in those 4 minutes between when the bot put the signal out and Coinbase actually announced 0x listing. And so if you were buying pre-listing at all, if you bought at the bot signal versus the Coinbase signal, you made probably twice as much profit, up 18% versus up 36%. And so it's pretty significant. And I think they actually had in the article, they had a quote by Crypto Hustle, who shout out was on the show a little bit ago, I think a few months ago, saying that these bots are something that he uses and they're just kind of one part of his strategy. But the thing is, like, I'm thinking back to the episode we had with Ari, like probably 8 or 9, 10 months ago, with Ari Paul, where he was saying at that point, like pretty much everybody he knew was using bots in crypto. And so this stuff has been
mm-hmm.
going on for some time. And probably on a level that a lot of people don't even really realize is happening. And this is just another example of something that's playing the markets better than any human can, because you're not going to be poring over Coinbase's API and their code base and just looking for a change that indicates 0x was added. I mean, if you have all the time in the world on your hands, maybe, but these are things that do that for you. So it's very interesting to see how these affect markets.
And even honestly, even if you have the time, why the hell would you want to do that? I mean, I get it. You make some more money, but to me, that's just total nerd status, I guess.
I think
If you want to
you'd have
sit
to be
there and
And you'd have to be dealing with like massive capital to make it worth it.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know what do you think the next one Coinbase is going to list?
Hmm.
Any
You know
guesses?
what? I don't know. It's like because people were saying 0x forever, and I was kind of like of the mindset like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, and it turned out to be absolutely true. Um, Next, I think Stellar is pretty high up on the list, which is
Yeah.
completely mind-boggling to me, being in this space for a few years. Because like Stellar was a coin that I remember trading on Poloniex and thinking like, oh, this is complete dog shit. It's just like it's like a a little brother of XRP or Ripple, because those two tended to move together, Stellar and Ripple. Ripple would pump,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
Stellar would pump like 2 weeks later.
Like
Um,
clockwork.
yeah, and so it really trips me out that like people are convinced that Coinbase is going to list them, but it makes sense now because Stellar's doing some good things in terms of payments and transaction speeds. They've partnered with IBM to do some stuff, if I am not mistaken. But it just kind of shows you how much has changed just in the few years we've been involved. Like you go from something seeming like a total shitcoin to being probably the next Coinbase ad. Um,
Right.
I don't know. What are you thinking about that?
I don't know. I personally think bat. It's going to be bat. Some people in the chat are saying ADA, ZEC, then the typical XRP, XLM. Destro said, "Shout out Destro." So, I don't know. I think to me, I just don't want Coinbase to get to the point where they're listing so many coins. I don't know. It's just kind of nice having the exclusivity of what they have there, I guess. And also, I still think with 0x that when the new investors come in, they're going to say, okay, this coin is 90 cents, so I'm going to just buy, a bunch of that. Colleen thinks Lux is going to be listed next. Old baby of mine that probably won't get on Coinbase, but you never know.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, you
oh
made a
well.
great point though about like with every new listing, the new listings become less significant. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like Litecoin or Ethereum getting added to Coinbase meant way more for those prices than 0x getting added to Coinbase, just because there are more options.
Totally.
So the money is naturally going to be spread out among more options. And so people are going to go to Coinbase and they're going to go, oh, it's not just Bitcoin or Ethereum. Because I mean, think about back in the day when it was just Bitcoin and Ethereum, a new person would download Coinbase and they'd be like, okay, this is the app to buy crypto or Bitcoin. And they would see
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin at 600 and they would see Ethereum at $3. And almost everybody goes, oh, well, why not buy the cheaper version at $3? And as there are more and more cheaper and cheaper versions, quote unquote, to like the noob's mind, then less money is going to flow into each one of those because it's more spread out. I mean,
Right.
I don't want to say it's going to be like Coinbase's Binance all of a sudden, where you have literally 300 options you can invest in, but it's going to get more and more like that. And yeah, Range is saying it's the nature of the market, though. It's true. It's just kind of like regulation, where it's
Yep.
a necessary evil for these markets to grow in size. And I guess from a holder or our standpoint, where we're already invested, we kind of just want to hope that enough new capital comes in to make up for that increase in channels they can put their money into.
Right. Uh, Jonathan in the chat made a good point that said when ETC Ethereum Classic got added, it didn't change the price at all. True, kind of signs of the market, I think, though. If that gets added in the last bull run, I think it goes crazy. So,
True, I agree.
all right, moving on. Something that kind of caught my eye was this the hearing that when the Peter Van Valkenburg of the head of research at Coin Center and Dr. Noriel Roubini, who is a professor at NYU Stern School of Business, testified before the Senate Banking Committee. I don't know, Killer, did you watch any of that? I was kind of periodically watching it while I was at work. And I think, I want to give a shout out to Peter because I think he kept his cool he was really good at what he does, and he kept his cool a lot of times when Noriel or whatever his name is was saying some stuff. I was getting pretty heated, and I'm a pretty cool person. I'm always like, this guy is such a douche, which, you know, you could argue, someone can argue that he's not, but I kind of think he is. He's been going after people on Twitter. It's pretty much been his life mission now to kind of kill cryptocurrency. And here's one tweet he said that really, pissed me off, I guess. This is a quote. As I poke fun of these crypto crazies and lunatics, they all came out of their shitcoin-filled cesspools and hurl nasty insults against me 24/7. So I block them all. And 99% of them are angry white males who are totals life losers. Proves my point on crypto as right-wing nuttery.
I guess that's us still. We're white male nutters or something. I don't know.
I guess. I mean, if I say that, my ass gets banned. Let's just be honest.
If you say less, you get banned. Fuck.
Yeah, I just think
the wrong
that
direction, you get banned.
I just think I'm not trying to steal any accreditation from this guy because he seems to be a pretty well-respected, whatever he is in his field. I think he teaches econ, but you know what? Piss off, man.
You know what? So let me first of all say that Noriel Roubini is a beautiful name.
It is. It really is. It flows off the tongue.
It's amazing. I believe he's Turkish, or his family is from Turkey. I could be wrong on that. Could be.
I want to say Iran.
Hungarian. Could be right too.
Look it up.
Anyway, so Roubini is a guy who's been in sort of the limelight in traditional finance for quite some time because he pretty successfully called the 2008 crash in the stock market. So that's how he really got famous. And what tends to happen in traditional markets is if you make one really good bearish call and you end up being right, you are allowed to go on TV as much as you want, say as much bullshit as you want for at least the following 10 years. That's how it works, which is completely ridiculous because these people often make these predictions for years at a time before they end up being right. And then they run with the instance where they happen to be right, And so it's the sort of thing where a broken clock is right twice a day. And so Roubini is, he's sort of like a Peter Schiff type, if anybody's familiar with him, where they both called the 2008 crash really well, and they've been shouting into the wind for the following 10 years and been wrong about pretty much everything they've said since then. And what happens is, you make a good prediction and it goes to your head. You think, oh, I know better than anybody, because that's kind of a natural human thing, is the overconfidence and thinking you're smarter than everybody. And they get this idea in their head that there's some kind of oracle. And these guys just on and on and on make predictions that end up being wrong at that point. Because they're overconfident. They're not thinking logically. They're just kind of going with their gut because they think their gut is spot on at that point. So Roubini is a little bit detached on this crypto shit. I mean, if you look at his tweets, you can tell he doesn't really know what he's talking about. I did not watch the hearing, actually, so I can't really comment on that, but I saw some snippets of it, and it's just the thing, though, is, like I said, if you look at some of his tweets, he doesn't really know what he's talking about with this stuff. So how much weight can I really put into all the other stuff he says about crypto? Because he's established that he's just kind of winging it, and he's probably read some headlines or some surface level articles. And I think we can all sort of relate to that a little bit. Yeah, Vinny Lingham is another example, Nomad. But I think we can all relate to that to a degree because when I first got involved in crypto, there are things I thought for sure after like the first few months that I look back now and I'm like, oh, I was an idiot because I thought this, but there was that little thing that I didn't consider, which completely disproved my point. And I think that's where Roubini is at right now. And I think that's where a lot of traditional finance people like Jamie Dimon perhaps are at right now, where they have enough knowledge to be dangerous and they have enough knowledge to be confident that they know what they're talking about in public. And keep in mind, these are very successful people too. I mean, Jamie Dimon is the fucking CEO of JP Morgan. So he's had an entire life of success and kicking ass. And that doesn't go away easy, you know? You don't go from that to some humble guy who's like, "I know nothing, you know, I bow to you who know more." It takes a while for that to happen. And so these guys get a little bit of knowledge and they get very cocky and they go to the press and they start spouting off on stuff like this. So, um, I think Rubini's sort of in the point right now where he doesn't realize how much he's damaging his reputation because he doesn't know what he doesn't know. Um, and I
Well,
mean,
these
he's
guys have the platform too, where they could spew whatever the hell they want, and people are
yeah,
gonna listen to them,
and a lot of
and
people eat it
they'll
up.
go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I do agree with you. I think he's a little off, far fetched. The last time he called, and don't quote me on this, I'm not saying it word for word, but the last time he called something with Bitcoin popping was when it was like sub $58 maybe, and look at even now where we're down what we are, he would still be up massively if he would have thrown something into it. And it goes to show too the difference between someone like him and a Howard Lindzone who doesn't really know much about crypto but realizes that it's a movement, realizes that there's money to be made, and he has some friends that he trusts, and they're investing in crypto. So he thought, why not take a stab at it? What's worse that could happen besides losing all your money going to zero? But it just shows two different types of people, and maybe
No,
uh,
totally. Yeah.
this Noriel or Roubini is a little more old school than Howard would be. So it's funny to read his tweets, and what's funny about crypto Twitter is we might be bashing each other all day long, and then as soon as someone attacks us as a whole, everyone just gangs up. And I've seen people are screenshotting that he's blocked them, and they're saying add another trophy to the trophy case. So it's just kind of funny. And how he said that the 99% of crypto Twitter is attacking him 24/7. Well, that's probably pretty accurate. So just kind of funny how we can be down each other's throats and then um, join forces to whoop someone's ass. So
Your point
kind
comparing him to Linzen was like completely spot on because you're starting to see this in traditional finance is full of charlatans. Basically, they make one good
of,
call, they get notoriety for it, and they ride that call off into the sunset with media appearances, with newsletters where they claim to predict the future. It's all bullshit. The guy you really want to trust is somebody like Howard, where he's more than willing to say, look, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I know some smart people who know more about this stuff than I do, and they say this is going to happen. So I trust that, but I don't really know. And Rubini's on the other side where he gets a little bit of information. He thinks he's an expert. And that's when you know a guy is, probably has an agenda or is just kind of making calls to make calls. And you're starting to see that in crypto too. It's been this is something I almost tweeted the other day, but I thought it would be like, I don't know. I thought it would be too obvious who I was talking about based on the initial tweet. That made me think of it. But um, uh, crypto like is really starting to get charlatans. And what I mean by that is like salesmen where it's just, they're always uber bullish or uber bearish or something. And it's for clicks, it's for ratings, but they're feeding you largely bullshit. And I think you got to start to be aware of that because crypto is getting big enough where there are some big people who you think you can trust, but it's completely agenda driven. And I'm not going to name any names. I mean, we can probably talk about this after the episode, but I'm really starting to see this emerge where it's just like prepackaged bullshit that's either completely bullish or completely bearish, and it's just for the point of clicks. Because if you're neutral, nobody gives a fuck. But most of the time, neutrality is fairly close to, or by neutrality, I mean like sort of an in between the furthest sides of each issue, the opinions. I think that middle ground is sort of usually the most accurate. If you're too far on one side or another, you're probably selling something, promoting something, but you're not giving people the absolute best information. And that's one
right.
thing, I think we've always kind of tried to do is like not be full of shit. And like, there's plenty we don't know what we're talking about, but I think I hope at least that we're willing to admit that, and like people can kind of tell that if we do feel confident in something, then we talk about it. But it's interesting to see crypto develop these salesman charlatan types.
Yeah, and like Nomad on I am Nomad on Twitter always says is going back to us is that we're always we're one of the best key. What what is he? I guess I'm drawing a blank. Like he always says he counter trade. There we go. He counter trades everything that we say. So um, just kind of funny, I guess. So with that,
I think that
let's
hold on. I
kind of
think
one of the
no, there's very little evidence behind that though. I mean, I love Nomad, but like it's kind of turned into a joke. But like, I mean, there have been episodes where we've been super bullish and it turns out to be bearish and vice versa. But that goes to show, I mean, nobody's ever like right most of the time. I mean, in traditional
kind of,
finance, if you're right 55% of the time, you're doing pretty well. And it's just, yeah, Nomad, shout out to you, but also I think I largely disagree with that. It's funny that you've run with it, but it's sort of just how equities and asset pricing works. And I'm sure you know
and
that
no
also,
matter.
Nomad, with your background, but whether
He's
you
the
take
type
that as
that I
another
think
thing.
too is going to bust our balls no matter what we do. And that's probably why realistically he doesn't want to come on. Just kidding.
Oh, that's a good theory. I like that. Nomad perhaps confident in tweeting but not speaking.
Ooh, plot
Just saying.
thickens.
Money where
Bum,
the
bum,
mouth is. Maybe.
bum.
Maybe not though. Maybe
Just
just
kidding. We
keep
love you,
hiding.
Nomad. All right, let's talk about that Tether crash, the premium, but Bitfinex, everything like that. So USDT hit the new low of 92 cents. It's the lowest it's been since I think like 2000 April 2017. Um, which everything I've found or read, no one really knows why. I don't. Killer, did correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, Tether and Bitfinex have been issues on and off for the past, like, literally 4 years, probably at least. So it's always a new issue. I've kind of it's one of those topics where I've started just kind of filtering it out. Like I see it and I'm like, oh, ha, 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 like Bitfinex is insolvent, hilarious. Not really, but I think it's one of those. Yeah, I mean, I just think if there's this much smoke, there should be fire if something is actually really wrong with Bitfinex or Tether. And we've said this on previous episodes, but I mean, there's enough of a microscope on these people where unless they're just doing a phenomenal job of evading authorities, then there's probably nothing really horrendous there. I mean, maybe they're up to some questionable accounting and shadiness, but if it's like some giant conspiracy like Bitfinex says, Bitfinex, I should say, says on Twitter, I just got to think it would be exposed by now. And for people who are following Bitfinex on Twitter too, keep in mind, this fucking guy constantly tweets and then deletes. And he'll say something that's stupid. And when he finds out it's stupid, he deletes. Or he misrepresents facts to suit his point. We've been on Twitter long enough. We've seen this guy do this 1,000 times. You have to take everything he says with a gigantic grain of salt. I mean, like a boulder of salt, like if you put any weight in it at all, because he clearly is agenda driven. That kind of interests me more than like Bitfinex and Tether is Bitfinex and who's behind him, who's running that account. I don't think it's one guy. I think it's multiple people. There's been a conspiracy floated that Bitfinex is an operative of a rival exchange who is aiming to
Oh
take down
boy,
Bitfinex. And I think that's interesting. I think
very
it's a bit tinfoil hat, but I could see it.
totally. And you want to know who retweets the shit out of Bitfinex? Any guesses, Killer? Any?
Roger Ver.
Roubini.
Oh, really? Yeah, I don't know why I said Ver.
Yep. Go look at his. If you're not blocked from Roubini, go just scroll down his tweets about maybe like 2 days worth, and I bet you damn near every other tweet that's on there is him retweeting Bitfinex.
That's interesting. I mean,
So
it just kind of goes to show you that people, they make up their mind and then they look for evidence that confirms the idea they've already formed. I
right.
mean, very few people are this neutral monk who sit there welcoming opinions from either side and correctly weighing either of them. You know, it's very few people have the emotional constitution to do that. When in reality, that's probably where you get closest to the truth, is trying to remain as neutral as possible and at least listening to other ideas. And I mean, Bitfinex is not that. Roubini is clearly not that at this point. Roubini has taken a stance, and now he's going to do everything he can to prove that stance, no matter how much evidence to the contrary emerges.
Yep. Yeah, even if someone proves him wrong, or Bitcoin goes up and stays in a higher range, and has another bull run. I still think that he's gonna disown it. So
Real quick,
um
Crypto 412, by the way, shout out on the chat. He just goes, Roubini pays for Tinder. I thought that was good.
I think that's the guy that hung with us in Philly.
He is, yeah.
I was
Shout out.
trying to figure
I don't
out a
want to
way
say his
not to.
I don't want to say
Yeah,
his
that's what
name.
I was
Yeah,
trying to do.
but Crypto 412 or Bitsburg, check him out on Twitter. Good dude, fun dude. We had a really good time hanging out with him at the last conference we went to. So
A couple more shout outs. Bella and Bobby are in the house, so thanks for you guys for listening. So back to this whole Tether Finex thing. One quote that the big skeptic on it is there actually $1 back for every one USDT? Tether's chief compliance officer Leonardo Real or whatever said that they do have every Tether is backed by USD, and that their assets exceed their liabilities and always have, and it's never been a question. So, and we've talked about this before on here, Killer, and I think you've been a big proponent of this. Is that they've undergone audits, so they've passed those. I don't really know what to believe here or what to really feel. So I'm gonna just kind of stay neutral. I don't think. I saw Sicarius tweeted that if you weren't buying Tether at 92 cents, what are you doing? Because obviously he feels pretty comfortable that it's going to hover around that dollar amount and,
I
made
know.
pretty easy money. So I don't know.
Should have gone all in at 80 cents or whatever it dropped to.
No shit. Yeah. So that's kind of that. Do you have anything else to add for that?
For Tether, I think what it boils down to is this. I'm not conducting the audits. I don't have insight into specifically what's going on there, who's conducting them, how they're being conducted. So I don't know if I can comment on that. The only thing I know for sure is that if there is this much negativity around it for this long, I highly doubt that they are really up to some serious shady business. I mean, the US has kind of piqued their interest and said, hey, what's going on here? Tons of other governments have done that. Other exchanges have done that. There have been so many people trying to take this entity down, Bitfinex and Tether. I gotta think that if it was really some shady business, it would have gone under by now. And that's the thing I keep coming back to. Hey, shout out the range. Killer's the only person on CSP who consistently pronounces things correctly. Anyway, sorry, off topic.
Suck it. So all right. So I have found, just kind of reading the stuff that we were today, getting ready for tonight. I kind of found some, things that I found very interesting that maybe are overlooked. I'm gonna call them random tidbits, but the average daily volume for Bitcoin futures grew 41% from in quarter three from quarter two, and it's actually up 170% from quarter one, which to me is pretty bullish. There are 3 pro crypto bills being introduced to Congress by Congress right now. Our man, Representative Tom Emmer, is kind of leading the charge on 2 of those. Basically, they were kind of over my head, but go Coin Center's got a good article on them, so go on over there. Don't donate any money though, because that's make Niraj talk to you. Other than that,
please bother him. Niraj is one of the funniest guys on Twitter, but give him a hard
funny.
time. Proud pod member, by the way. Shout out to the pod. Formed a year ago today in the Telegram chat group. It's a fucking chat group. Let's not. I'm not gonna act like I'm changing the world, but it has made a big difference in my life, and I hope the lives of a few others.
We've got a lot of representation of the pod in the chat tonight, so that just kind of goes to show. This goes back to one of my biggest things. My advice to new people is network, get out and get. Not necessarily people with a similar trading style as you, because it's always good to hear other people's trading style. You can adapt and mold your trading style to be obviously what's best for you, but hearing other sides of the aisle is really crucial. I think Killer and I can say that he's not here, but his trading style is unlike any that I've seen. I'm not going to get into details of it because I don't think he'd want me to, but it's just funny to see his trading.
Well,
would you not agree?
Yeah, it's like Prince is the youngest among the three of us, and it's very funny because Dale and I are the ones who are like opening like 25 times, 50 times leverage trades on BitMEX and be like, "Here we go, boys, going to the moon." And Prince is like, "Bro, guys, I only do 5 times leverage max. That's as far as I'll go. Usually it's 2 to 3 times." That was a horrible
You
Prince
gotta
impression.
turn the leverage down.
Yeah, but he's totally right. I mean, we're just like too
Oh yeah,
degenerate. I
totally.
feel like the two of us.
Yeah. Yeah, so the funniest Prince trade story is I messaged, I think it was in our chat, I messaged, said, "Yo, check out Strat. It's, I think it's about ready to pop. Here are my entries." And then later that night I said, "Hey, my entries hit finally." And Prince is like, "Oh yeah, I've been in and out of it 5 times already."
Bro, how about like Prince is our co-host? How many times has he counter traded us? Like he tells us in the
Oh
chat, he's
god.
like, "Oh, I'm loving Sen right here," and like we look at the order book and it's just massive sell walls, and then we go, "Prince, is this you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sorry guys." Like, bro,
Maybe.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Or
it's
he just
funny.
sends like an emoji to us, like it's like, bro, like we're your co-hosts and you're dumping on us.
Yeah,
Terrible.
you're freaking dumping on us. But no, shout out
I gotta
him.
say really quick,
So
this is
yeah.
we just mentioned Sen. I want to talk about Sen a little bit because I have a little funny story about Sen. Um, so we got into Sen. Unfortunately, I got my father into Sen as well. Um, this was when I thought like I was sold on Sen by some friends, and our theory was basically that like a lot of big dogs are buying it, so it's gonna do all right, because people will want it to succeed. And so I went to my dad and I'm like, "Dad, you should put some money in this." Like, well, I don't think I went to him. I think he came to me and I thought of Sen. And he put some money into it. And then this is probably 6 or 8 months ago. And so Sen was much higher than it is now. Probably not that far ago, but it was long ago. And so like the last couple of days, my dad comes to me and he's like, "Hey, that crypto thing we put money into, can you send me like an analysis of like what that is or like why you did it?" And I was like, like shit. Like I look back, I'm like, I didn't really have a good reason. I just thought it was gonna pump. And like, and so I'm like scrambling for information to find so I can like tell it to him and like give him a strong case, And I just ended up like sending him the website link. Like I'm thinking in my head, like,
Check it
look, our
out.
strategy was basically it's gonna pump. Too many people are in on it for it not to, and it's down like
Yep.
70% from when he got it.
You should have sent him the link and said DYOR noob.
Bro, well, the thing is, Sen was like a third of the ICO price, like when I bought it for him. So I'm like, oh, how much lower can it
Yeah.
go? Shit is literally down like 75% from then.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, rest in
All right,
peace.
let's wrap up with bull prediction through year end. What do you got?
Bold prediction. I think this may be bold right now. I think Bitfinex will be operating largely business as usual by the end of 2019.
Bold. God, I don't know what mine would be. You know what it's gonna be? I'm gonna get my original Crypto Dale account back by the end of the year.
I hope so. That is
Yeah,
bold
me
after how
too.
many appeals, but I
I'm
sure
on
hope so.
number 16. So what do you do?
You're fighting the good
It's
fight.
a
I
little
mean,
ridiculous. Yeah,
you shouldn't have abandoned the first place, obviously.
I know. Oh well, it happens. I've learned my lesson. If any Twitter
Anyway,
folks are listening, so that's it. That went pretty well.
it was fun.
You got anything to wrap up with, Killer?
Oh, one final thing I wanted to talk about. This is just something I kind of been thinking about lately is looking back at crypto bull markets and stock market bull markets. Crypto has never been in an environment where the stock market was doing poorly. So the last major stock market crash was 2008 kind of started in 2007. Let's say crypto became like a mainstream thing or even semi-mainstream. Let's say like early 2010, 2011-ish. So crypto has largely had this tailwind of equity markets doing well, so people making more money there, which they then flip into riskier assets because they're very comfortable with stocks, which are just grinding higher for like the past 10 years. And I'm a little bit concerned about what happens if crypto recovers in the next few months and the stock market just completely takes a shit. And I think that's fairly likely. I think the stock
Yeah.
market's like kind of reaching the top.
Hmm.
I think it may have a couple more years in it, which would be enough for another crypto bull run. And that's like ideal. We should all like go outside and dance in the rain event. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering what happens because I mean, some people have this idea, and I tweeted about this where, oh, if the stock market goes to shit, you're really going to see crypto shine, and people are going to pile money into it. You guys have never been involved in markets in your lives. Anybody saying that, completely clueless. Because when the traditional markets are crashing, people are not looking to put their money in shit coins and Bitcoin. It's completely ridiculous. Like the exact opposite will happen. They will sell off their Bitcoin first before the stock market really takes a shit. Um, and so if you're hoping like for a market downturn because like, oh, my crypto will go up 5 million%, no chance. Like I don't say many things with that much certainty because I realize I can be an idiot, but I'm pretty fucking sure about this. And I think you got to get this notion out of your head that like if the equity markets crash, you're going to be swimming in gold like fucking Scrooge McDuck. Um, so I think I wanted to talk about that because I think that's a very real possibility. Is crypto starts to
Yeah.
recover and equities just completely bite the bullet, and um, I think people are underrating that possibility.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying, Killer, because, just look at what Bitcoin did the other day. I had $1,000 plus wick. So I just think with that volatility that if the stock market, which, is the bee's knees, if that starts taking a dump, then you're going to see people rushing out of Bitcoin, buying gold or whatever the case may be they do. But I think you want to see the stock market doing well, and then people are more likely to take a risk on something like Bitcoin and shitcoins.
Exactly.
So I
Yeah.
agree completely with you. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Love to hear some feedback on some stuff. We're always trying to improve the podcast. This is our 103rd episode. So not planning on halting this anytime soon. So we appreciate everyone listening. Tip that waitress. They're working hard, even though we're broke as shit too. So just kidding. I always get people always get weird when you say you're broke or you're swimming in money. So we're flat. Ketchup
We
sucks.
rich.
Um,
Just kidding. Don't come after us.
yeah, no shit. So peace out, everybody. Take care. Tip your waitress. Be safe. See you guys. Thanks for listening.